Hello, welcome to SaharaTV live out of New York City. Once again, my name is Omoyele Showore, and we are continuing today's programming by talking about the state of emergency recently imposed on a few northern Nigerian states in Nigeria. And we're lucky today to have one of the most popular former governors in Nigeria, Alhaji Balarabe Musa, who is former governor of Kaduna State, on the phone to discuss why he opposes the state of emergency imposed by President Goodluck Jonathan to stem the killings and the destruction wrought by Boko Haram. And of course, as you have heard, the Nigerian army. Hello, Alhaji Balarabe Musa, you're welcome to SaharaTV.
Yes, you're welcome, yes.
Yeah, I just want to introduce you as somebody who was national chairman of now the re-registered People's Redemption Party, PRP.
Yes.
And one of the things that made you most popular was that you were impeached in 1981. And I think your impeachment became the most popular Nigerian political event in the 80s. But you have kept going, and up to now, you are one of the strongest voices in the northern part of Nigeria. But Alhaji, before we start, how did the northern part of Nigeria get to where it is today? To the extent that, I mean, the north is under violence, it's under siege. The north is virtually destroyed by this insurgency.
Well, this can happen to every part of Nigeria. At the moment, it happens in the north. But obviously, if the present system and the leadership produced by the system continue, it will separate to other parts of the country and to the rest of the country.
So you are saying this is not a northern phenomenon alone, but was there any time while you were governor that you suspected that if this continued the way they were, things you fought against, things you fought for, that the northern part of Nigeria was going to get to this point?
Yes, I knew it would lead to the situation we are now facing. I knew it.
And
because we are quite clear
yes.
about the state of the nation at that time. And it was not just a question of being aware. We investigated and informed ourselves about the state of the nation, and even during the Second Republic, the state of the nation was grossly negative. And the situation has got worse now.
Well, let me ask you, was there any time, Alhaji, that you felt that the state of Nigerian nation was a little bit better after you left power, after you were impeached? Was there any time that things got better before now?
Well, we have a brief period, two brief periods of hope.
Okay.
First, with the June 1993 election.
Okay.
Which was fairly free, fair, and transparent, and was capable of producing a legitimate government. Then the second time we had a hope was surprisingly during a military regime, when General Buhari became the head of state through a military coup.
Yes.
And really began to give Nigeria a better image internally and externally. But he lived, he didn't last long. He lasted only about 20 months.
I mean, talking about military coups and military rule, it appeared that you kind of have some soft spot for General Abacha as well. What was responsible for that?
No, I never had soft spot for General Abacha.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
The only military head of state I ever had soft spot for is Buhari.
So
simply because he addressed the fundamental problems of the country right from the beginning.
All right.
Indiscipline, and corruption.
We will come back to that, but let's talk about the state of emergency declared by President Jonathan last week, where he said, now I'm putting all these states in state of emergency, soldiers deployed, I'm going to crush Boko Haram. You are opposed to that. Why are you opposed to that?
Well, I'm opposed to it.
Go ahead.
I'm opposed to it because even though I agree that there is insecurity throughout the country, but in particular in two of the states, Gombe and Borno. But the level of insecurity does not justify a state of emergency even in these two states. The president is the chief security officer of the country. This is what the Constitution says, the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is what it says. He is the chief security officer of the country. So he has an enormous power. He ought to utilize that power without state of emergency, because state of emergency in the Nigerian setting has too many implications. What he could have done is first to use his constitutional position as the chief security officer of the country to tighten security measures in the country. Because it has been discovered that the security services are part and parcel of the problems of insecurity. That has been proved. So giving the security services more power without checking, and he's certainly not capable of checking them with the way things are now in Nigeria.
Well, that leads me to the next question, Alhaji. How do you rate the Jonathan regime? Do you think this is a capable president, or what do you think?
No, it is definitely a disappointment. First, the president doesn't have moral legitimacy.
Why?
He doesn't have popular legitimacy. He doesn't have moral legitimacy because he came to power through the misuse of incumbency. He even defied his own party to become the president. That has a large moral implication. Secondly, he doesn't have popular legitimacy. He has legal legitimacy in the sense that the Supreme Court has declared him the winner. But he doesn't have popular legitimacy because what the court says ought to be accepted by the people, but it has not been accepted. The way he became the president.
Yes. So
I would give one.
Go ahead. Give us one example. Yes.
Exactly. Now, according to the laws in Nigeria, if an election petitioner wants, he can ask the electoral body to give him electoral materials to examine so that he can prove his case. It is there in the law. The court allowed, for the 2011 election, the court allows General Buhari to have these electoral materials for examination. But when he asked for it from the electoral body, ANEC refused to give him. And could you believe the reason they gave for refusing to give him?
We don't
they
know.
said for security reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Has the electoral body now become a security organization? And yet the Nigerian Supreme Court, without evidence that there was a winner in the election, declared the president the winner. Therefore, he lacks moral and popular legitimacy. And that is at the root also of the problem of Nigeria.
Alhaji, let me take you to another issue because a lot of people listening to you and watching are sending us questions. They said, What do you think about the position of some northern leaders, northern elders, as I call them, saying that they want power to return to the north? And people are insinuating in other parts of Nigeria, this is probably why some of these politicians are probably behind Boko Haram and using Boko Haram to escalate insecurity in the country as a way of using that to pressure Jonathan to allow power to shift to the north, as they call it. What's your position on power shift?
Now, well, the position of power shift, which is called in Nigeria zoning,
Yes.
to some extent, it is credible.
Okay.
Because of the ethnic divisions in the country, and because of the weakness of government in this country, it should be the case. I mean, every section of the country should be given the sense of belonging. Therefore, even though we claim to be pursuing democracy, democracy has to be tempered with justice and concern for the interests of others. And to enable this zoning system, even though introduced formally by a discredited political party, the PDP, that alone should not make us reject zoning. So
Alaji, let me jump in right there. If it is zoning, shouldn't the zoning go to the 250 ethnic groups in Nigeria, including mine, before it comes to the north?
Well, you see, this is the problem.
Yes.
This is the problem. Unfortunately, in the first place, we have been practicing zoning, I think, since the creation of Nigeria. Zoning has been being created in one way or another. In fact, zoning has become a nature in Nigerian society. Even within the family, you find some level of zoning. So there is nothing wrong with zoning. But zoning must be combined with merit and capability. The problem of Nigeria is that you talk about zoning alone, but it has to go along with merit and capability. Otherwise, zoning will not solve the problem, will create more problems.
Is your party, the Registered People's Redemption Party, does it have a zoning structure to the extent that if I was a member of your party, I could become a presidential candidate based on your zoning policy?
As I told you, every political party, right from the beginning of the formation of political parties in 1950, has been practicing some form of zoning.
Okay.
The PRP is no exception.
Yes. You are regarded as one of... Yes, go ahead. You are regarded as... Yes, Alaji, you are regarded as one of the, Puritan politicians in the north from the Aminu Kano stock. People who know you say you don't live a life of expense. You don't live an expensive life, that is befitting of a former governor. And you have advocated for a revolution in Nigeria.
Yes.
Are you, because people want to hear, what kind of revolution are you asking for? Is it a revolution that would totally annihilate the political process we have now, including zoning, as you mentioned it, and put in a regime of new political system that gives people full fundamental freedom? Or what kind of revolution are you talking about? Are you talking about a mass upheaval of northerners, southerners, all joining hands together and driving, as Bob Marley said, the crazy buttheads out of town?
Well, what I'm saying is that the socio-economic and political system controlling all development in the country is based on self-interest first, public interest second, or even incidental. And it is this system and this leadership produced by the system that are directly responsible for the level of insecurity, for the disabling level of corruption, stealing, and criminal waste of resources, for the collapse of the economy, for the misuse of the tremendous potentiality in the country and for the organized violence throughout the country, but particularly since the Second Republic. And finally, for the quarrelsomeness of the political leadership in the country. You have to change this system in favor of one based on public interest first, and then enlightened self-interest second. From the way the situation is in Nigeria, you cannot do that peacefully. You can do that peacefully through massive persuasion, but this can be done only by a government that has legitimacy. It can be done by the National Assembly, but the National Assembly is subordinated by corruption. But it has to be done, and it has to be done somehow, preferably through peaceful revolution. And there are many forms of peaceful revolution.
Go ahead.
If this becomes impossible, then by any means, which
Yes,
includes social revolution.
Wow, that's pretty strong. But you know, people always say that revolution is impossible in Nigeria because we have ethnic divisions, we have religious divisions, and Nigerians simply can never come together to fight a revolution. What do you react? How do you react to that?
But virtually every important country in the world, you take the 10 most leading countries of the world, each one of them has had a revolutionary change at one time or another during its history. Take America, take Britain, take Germany, take France, and then take Russia, take China. All of them at one time or another had to embark on a revolutionary change. In some countries, I doubt if there is any country that you can say pursued it peacefully. I mean, take Britain. At one time, they had to murder their own king in order to make progress in the country. America had to fight a war with Britain, its mother country. And even after that, America had to go through civil war to free slavery, which it was discovered to be uneconomic. So every country that achieved fundamental change had to go through a process of revolution, either peacefully or otherwise. This is a reality of life.
I mean, you have been pushing this for a long time. Let's go to Boko Haram. One of their demands is that they want to Islamize Nigeria and impose a regime of Sharia law on the entire country of 160 or to 170 million people. What would be your reaction to Boko Haram demands? And
well, first of all, I'm still not satisfied that Boko Haram is a legitimate Islamic movement.
Okay.
It looks more like an agent provocateur created by a number of forces, including the government in power itself, for political reasons. But let us assume that Boko Haram is a legitimate Islamic movement. Let us know what they stand for. Definitely, if they stand for Islamization of Nigeria, complete Islamization of Nigeria, that is not practicable. That is not even Islamic. Because in Islam, there is no force in religion. So it is not possible to use Islam to Islamize Nigeria. No. You can use politics to Islamize Nigeria and face the consequences. But what you can say is that Nigeria is a multi-religious society, and it should proceed accordingly. And this has been provided for by the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Constitution of Nigeria starts by asserting the power of God. So, which means The Constitution of Nigeria is not a secular constitution. It is a constitution that recognizes the multi-religious essence of Nigeria. Now, if you read through the Constitution all through, you can see adequate protection for all religions, and even for those who don't believe in any religion. So, if this thing is examined out of politics, and it is not easy to examine it, to do this out of politics when the level of illiteracy, the level of poverty is so high. It's not possible. You will always find some forces using religion for its purpose.
Yes. Alhaji, another thing that's been widely debated is the fact that the northern part of Nigeria as it is today is perhaps Nigeria's poorest zone or region. But at the same time, the irony is that we've had a lot of northern presidents, head of states, and some people have argued that even some of this instability you have in the north is a protest or rebellion against the northern leadership and the way they've handled the governance of the north, and in terms of education, healthcare, and just the same way you have across Nigeria, but more seriously in the north. How would you react to the suggestions that northern youths are now revolting against the northern elite?
No, there is no evidence that the youth in Nigeria or in any section of Nigeria are revolting against the negative state of the nation. No evidence of that. This used to be the case even up to the Second Republic. But today, as it is from the Second Republic to today, the youth have been misused to such an extent that they don't. They have no legitimacy to protest. They have been so completely misused. They are completely powerless. Any protest by the youth today is sponsored by some rich and powerful politician, and like what it was before the Second Republic, and even during the Second Republic.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes. So finally, Alhaji, the youths are not doing what they should be doing. They've been misused. But yet, you were able to garner some young people in occupied Nigeria in January 2012 to protest against the oil subsidy fraud or removal of oil subsidy. Do you think Nigeria...
No, all Nigerians were used.
Yes.
All Nigerians were used. I was one of the protesters, and I'm 77.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that, do you think that kind of galvanization of efforts coming together by Nigerians across all ages is actually going to work again? It can lead to a revolution, you think?
Yes, it can. But what I'm saying is this. Look, when people doubt about the possibility of revolution in Nigeria, they are being apolitical. Revolutions have taken place throughout the history of the world, everywhere where the concrete situation makes it inevitable. And Nigeria is not an exception. There is no way Nigeria is unique. No, Nigeria is not unique. Whatever other countries did to liberate themselves, Nigerians can do it. It is just a matter of time. It is just a matter of the maturity of the concrete situation in the country. I mean, let me give you an example.
Go ahead.
First, two examples more than anything. This every level of corruption, stealing, and criminal waste of resources affects the youth in Nigeria more than anything, because it is they who cannot go to school because their parents are poor. It is they who have no opportunity for employment. A Nigerian graduate does not have any hope of employment within 5 years. And as I'm talking to you now, we have found out that there are about 20 million post-secondary graduates in Nigeria that are unemployed, and they have no hope of employment for the next 20 years. Do you think Nigeria can continue like this with this situation? No.
Well, Elijah, I will ask you a final question, and it will be two-track. One is, do you miss being a governor, having been impeached in 1981? And secondly, do you think you would have done anything if you hadn't been impeached to change the condition of your state to such an extent that it could have been a model state by now?
First of all, I do not regret anything.
Okay.
From my actions, I do not regret anything. If I have a chance, I will do the same or even more. Obviously, I will be more cautious.
Wow. Well, on that note, Alhaji Balarabe, I want to thank you so much for coming on SaharaTV, and we hope you remain in touch with us as we discuss and debate and interact on these issues of national importance to Nigeria and Africa as a whole. Thank you once again for joining us.
So thank you very much.
Yes. So viewers, this has been Alhaji Balarabe Musa, former governor of Kaduna State and chairman of the People's Redemption Party, now deregistered by the Electoral Commission in Nigeria, known as INEC. We'll be back with one programming on SaharaTV today. Please do not go away. We'll be back.